Well, this is Dr. Eddie Molai. He is a management consultant with over 40 years experience. He has worked for several organizations around the world, including central banks. Today, he's going to give us some ideas, some tips about corporate governance, especially in the area of performance. Thank you, Dr. Eddie Molai.
Okay, thanks, Chinedu. Delighted to speak to you. What I've set out here is just a very simple framework, and in your workshops this is something that you can flesh out. If you want to judge somebody's performance, the first thing you need to know is what is the target. So I want to run the 100 meters in 10 seconds, how am I doing? So it's always performance is evaluated against some kind of objective. So for a large organization like a bank, well, the first thing you do is you establish a 5-year vision. And a 5-year vision or a 10-year vision is usually a very noble, ambitious, evocative statement of where you want to get to in about 5 years. And it'll be kind of abstract. Something like, we want to be among the top 3 banks in Africa. Do you follow me? Something like that that's realistic. Some people put down the best in the world, but that's usually a bit overambitious. So it's some kind of ranking. So we want to be a great bank as indicated by. The next thing you have to say was, how would you know, what would it look like? And that would be a series of high-level indicators, such as held in high public esteem, achieving these kinds of stability of the currency, high-quality banking, protecting the consumer of financial services, and so on. So it'd be a series of high-level goals for that, the kind of ones you would have in a central bank. So that gets you down to what I'm calling the high-level objectives. So it's like you cascade it down from one statement, and then you go, but how would I know I got there? And then you list those, okay? Now, once you know what these goals are, they're cascaded down through the hierarchy of the organization and assigned to individuals. So that's the structure of personal accountabilities. So we want to achieve this, this, and this. You're responsible for that. You're responsible for this. You're responsible. And that's the organization structure, otherwise called the structure of accountability, because you're accountable now for achieving those things. And obviously that breaks all the way down to somebody who's operating at the front office, meeting the public. Okay? So that's what's called the structure of responsibility. So you have direction, where are we trying to get to, the vision and the high-level goals. These are the goals. Then who's responsible for getting there? So you break it up into bits. Now, and that's your structure. So think of these as boxes on the organization chart. The next thing you need to know is the caliber of the people in those boxes. And that's competence. Now, there are 3 things in the competence box that you need in a bank, in all organizations. One is, have they got the technical competence? Do they know, have they got deep specialist technical knowledge? Secondly, do they have managerial competence? You can have people who are technically qualified like a doctor but couldn't manage a sweet shop. And thirdly, especially in banking, it's probity, high ethical standards. And in Ireland, you cannot now work in a senior position in a bank unless you meet the central bank's criteria of competence and probity. That's competence. So we now have good people in each of these jobs in here, and they meet these criteria. The next thing you need is, what are the core business processes of the bank? So for a central bank, that would be things like, what is the process for establishing a bank? What is the process for inspecting a bank? And these are all very detailed, very thought out and documented disciplines and routines and procedures, okay? You need to do that and then make sure they're used, and you monitor the compliance with those. So it's process and procedural compliance. And for those, you need ICT. You need your modern information technology, which enables you to drill down and go in and have a look and do all of this kind of thing. So that's very important. Also crucial are the HR systems. How do you recruit? What are the criteria, such as these criteria here? How do you get promoted? Is it favoritism, or is it on the basis of some? Is there a performance management system? If people misbehave, are there consequences? Training, development, all those things, reward and recognition, money, pay, etc. They're all your HR systems. because it's a people business. And finally, there's the quality of the external relationships of the bank. What do the media think of them? What do the general public think of them? What does the World Bank think of them? So who are the key external relationships of the central bank or of any entity? And you need to map those. If this is you, these are the key relationships here. And you have to ask the question, what's the current status of those relationships and what are they like? And finally, crucially, there's the culture. And that is the way in which the values, all central banks will say, oh, we, integrity, transparency, accountability, respect, all these kinds of fine values. But the question is, are they being lived consistently? And that's really the culture. The way, a good definition of culture is the way things are done around here when nobody is looking, okay? And therefore, most failures actually are failures of culture. Breakdown here. Now, so that really is how you, that's all about performance. The first, down to here, structure of accountability, down to here is roughly performance management. These are the goals. Here's what we have to achieve by quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and then you have management meetings to track those. It's called control. That's the control process. So that's your performance management against these targets here. The rest of it is really capacity, okay? So I'll use a thing here. So all of the rest of this really is capacity building. So it's performance and capacity. And capacity is the basis of sustainable performance. Not lucky, not one shot, not a good year and a bad year. So what's the skill base, the competence of your people at all levels? What are your processes? Are they streamlined and disciplined? Think of a hospital, the care pathway in a hospital. That's where it breaks down. What are your HR systems like, your IT, the quality of your external relations? You're held in high esteem by government and by everybody else. And you have a culture which has been embedded in the organization. Another one, if you want to put it in, it's often put in separately, is leadership and management. And that is, there's very good leadership, we have very good management processes, they're all trained in management and so on. So this really is capacity. And this is, this is all about recruitment and management development and testing. This is all about lean manufacturing, lean processes, streamlining the processes, automating the processes, using IT, HR systems, really good HR systems, state of the art, great external relationships. We really work well on those. And also then we have a terrific culture and also we're well led and well managed. All that is capacity. So that really just is an overview in relation to the first question I was asked by Chinadu. And it's a template you could use for any organization. A hospital, being a great maternity hospital, as indicated by number of live births and so on, high objectives, who's responsible for what. Then you have the structure of accountability in the hospital. And in fact, this model is taken from a report on a hospital in Ireland. So that gives you its universal application.